The biggest criminal trial in the history of the internet is over this morning, and so apparently is Ross Ulbricht's freedom. The mastermind of the Silk Road website was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was convicted of creating and operating Silk Road, which allowed users to anonymously trade in drugs and weapons. Wired magazine tackles the rise and the fall of Silk Road in a two-part feature in its May and June issues. Andy Greenberg is a senior writer for Wired. He has been covering the story for years and was in the courtroom for Friday's sentencing. Andy, good morning.
Hi.
This is such a fascinating story because it's a 31-year-old with no criminal record, who basically creates a $1 billion illegal drug website.
And now he'll spend the rest of his life in prison for it, which is really a shocking outcome of this. I don't think anyone expected such a harsh sentence.
Why do you say that?
The prosecution wasn't even asking for it, were they?
That's right. The prosecution had asked, in fact, only for something substantially beyond the 20-year minimum that he was going to receive. But I don't think, in fact, I cover cybercrime for a technology magazine. I've never heard of such a long sentence for something someone did with a computer, essentially.
Sorry, go ahead, Vinny.
Give us a better sense, though, because I know he was arrested basically in a public library. How did this business build? What exactly was he doing?
Well, he created this online marketplace using this anonymity software, Tor, and the cryptocurrency Bitcoin that allowed anyone to essentially buy and sell drugs anonymously. It was the first of its kind, and people sought it out. They realized that this was a new way to do basically like illegal commerce, e-commerce, essentially. And because it was such a kind of groundbreaking thing, it grew into a $1 billion business.
You talk about the surprise of the sentencing. One of the things that the government contended in its case was that he actually solicited the killings of as many as 6 people to prevent his identity. What role do you think that had in the sentencing?
Well, it's an interesting thing because those actually weren't charged as attempted murders in the trial. He was charged with conspiracy, essentially narcotics conspiracy, and those attempted murders were kind of wrapped into it. But the prosecution never had to prove he killed anyone. Nonetheless, the judge was convinced, and that certainly played into this, this very harsh sentence.
He obviously had some very passionate pleas for why there should be light at the end of the tunnel, saying, I was a young guy, these were mistakes. Do you think precedent played a key role in this judge's decisions?
She actually explicitly said in her statement that she wanted to send a message with this. The prosecution asked for that. She said, yes, this was unprecedented. I'm going to set a precedent so that any other potential young online drug lords will think twice about following in your misguided footsteps, as she said.
Right. It's interesting here because he said, look, this was an act of my youth. He pleaded for mercy here, but the judge came back and said, no, you wanted this to be your legacy, right?
Right. She said, you want this to be your legacy. You wanted it to be your legacy, and now it is.
Wow.
It was a fascinating case to learn about. Andy Greenberg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm 28 years old. Today is November 6th. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
You're right. November the 6th.
December.
Oh, it's December the 6th, 2012. I'm here in San Francisco, and I'm a friend of the guy who's about to introduce himself to you.
I am Renee Pinnell, age 29. Today is December 6th, 2012, and we are in the Jewish Contemporary Art Museum, and relationship to partner is best friend.
So, Renee, what do you want to talk about today?
I thought one story that might be interesting to people 200 years in the future would be how both of us came to live in San Francisco.
All right, well, you moved here first, so you should probably start things off.
Okay. So I do startups, and I've been doing them for about 2 years. And before moving to San Francisco, I lived in Austin, Texas, which is a little sort of micro version of what is in San Francisco. San Francisco is the mecca for startups, and Austin is just like the meh.
The math startups.
The meh of startups. So I knew that I wanted to move out to San Francisco for a while, and I was just looking for an excuse to do it. And that excuse came in the form of a job.
Let me stop you and ask something. Why are startups so important to you, or why is that? Why are you basing where you want to live around where startups are good?
So I like startups because I like being creative and having the potential to make a lot of money. So any job or field where those two things are possible are of interest to me. I used to be a filmmaker, which was a creative field, but it was very difficult to make a lot of money, whereas the odds seem a little better in startups. So Ross, how did you come to live in San Francisco?
You twisted my arm until I said, fine, I'll come. Yeah, Renee made it out here, and let's see. I was living in Austin, Texas, the meh of startups, and I was living in my parents' house. They were out of town, and I was just like house sitting for them, and they were coming back into town in like a couple weeks, and I get a phone call from Renee. Ross, call me up. I got an opportunity for you. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing this startup here in San Francisco. I want you to be a part of it. Come live out here with me. I've got a room. I'll pay you to work. There's no reason to say no. And I was like, wow, just uproot and go out there. I'll have to think about it, make sure that's a good idea. But the more I thought about it and the more he laid out the pros and cons, the more it all just seemed like cosmic and the right thing to do. So, yeah, I bought my ticket, and 2 weeks later I showed up at his doorstep.
To move in, but be kind of detached from the outcome, and remind yourself that you're unimportant. I think is a good thing to remind yourself that you're going to die and be smudged out of history. Besides this recording, which will last forever. I think I've always had this image of somebody looking back and fictionalizing my life. It's like I've sort of look at my life as a narrative, and you see yourself as the protagonist. And I think that's kind of a dangerous way to live. I think you should I don't know. And I guess the other thing I think is that you should just I think the point of life, at least where I'm at right now, is to try on so many different strategies for living. I've tried one strategy. It had some pros, it had some cons.
Right.
I just want to keep on trying these different strategies and going for it entirely, and then assessing after a few years and saying, okay, this worked, that didn't work, and I just want to keep on doing that until I cobble together a series of strategies a set of strategies that really works well for me.
That's good, man. I think that there's a tendency in a lot of people to seek comfort, and what you're describing is the opposite of that. It's don't get comfortable in one way. Try something else. Maybe there's useful lessons out there.
Deep shit.
Yeah, man. Dude, we're so deep.
Cool.
I don't know. You got any more questions, or should we wrap it up?
Yeah, future outlook. What are you going to do over the next 5 years? Like one sentence.
I'm gonna I'm gonna do a few things. So one sentence isn't enough. Damn it. But I want to. Pretty sure I want to start a family in the next 5 years.
Nice. Okay.
Just make more friends and close people I love. Yeah, I want to focus on being more connected to people.
Very good. And 20 years.
20 years. I want to have had a substantial positive impact on the future of humanity by that time.
Do you think you're going to live forever?
I think it's a possibility. I honestly do. I think I might live forever in some form by that time. I mean, technology is changing so fast.
Yeah. All right, cool. I hope I'm there. Sweet. And if you've made it to the end of this, congratulations to you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Six miles off the Essex coast. It looks like an abandoned oil rig, but this is an occupied nation. It has a royal family, currency, national anthem, flag, and the most bizarre struggle for independence in any island's history. This is the Principality of Sealand. It's not every day you get to meet royalty, but when you do, you don't expect to meet them in a port in Harwich.
Ah, morning. I don't know if I should bow or not.
We're meeting His Royal Highness Prince James and Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte.
And obviously your sister's on board today. She's outside because she's feeling a bit sick.
Yeah, she's not so good with bugs.
Princess Charlotte's just missed out on another crown, Miss Southend 2010. In 1943, Sealand started life as Fort Ruffs, a 10,000 square foot gun platform built by the Royal Navy during World War II.
Ships leaving Britain's ports were vital in supplying the front line. Fort Ruffs was crucial in the war effort. There were 5 other gun platforms built in the Thames estuary. They were known as Mounsell Towers, named after the designer who created them. Their job was to have a pop at Nazi bombers flying over the estuary, dropping mines into the shipping lanes.
After the war, the Mounsell Towers were decommissioned. James's grandfather Roy Bates occupied Sealand in 1967 and set up a pirate radio station. But when the Royal Navy came patrolling nearby, he fired warning shots and was hauled before the courts.
Your grandfather was either very brave or maybe a little bit crazy.
Eccentric, I think.
Eccentric.
There have been times when Marines turned up, but my grandma pointed a gun down at them, said if they came any further, she'd open fire, so they left as well.
Your grandma kept the Royal Marines at bay.
She was quite a woman.
I've been to Sealand before, but today I'll be elevated as one of its lords.
I tell you what, I've never entered a country like this before.
Roy Bates made a royal claim on Sealand. Amazingly, months after he'd shot at passers-by, in 1968, a nation was born. Sealand is just outside British territorial waters, so courts ruled the Royal Roy could exert state authority and crown himself absolute sovereign.
Okay, so we're into the bowels of Sealand now.
That's it, yep. Here we've got our post box here for any outgoing mail. We've got our kitchen here. We've got all the home luxuries out here, like obviously a fully kitted out kitchen.
You've got a fire.
We do.
TV, hi-fi, kind of simple-ish, but I suppose it's comfy.
Yep, it's comfy, that's the main thing. We've got the little cat running about. I'm not
So
sure
you have, is that the official Sealand cat?
Yeah.
Does it have a title?
There's plenty of beds for the royals and any visitors, a chapel, even a bit of storage space on the seabed. In 1978, the island of Sealand faced its first assault. German and Dutch businessmen squabbling over a price for the island invaded. Roy's son Michael was held hostage by men with moustaches.
Yep, it's only been used the once after the invasion when my father got taken hostage. We had a friend that he flew in all the James Bond films, he was a stunt pilot. So they took the doors off a helicopter and stood on the skids, came out, slid down ropes and took it back.
They recaptured Sealand from these Dutch...
Brought an armed force back and took it back.
For you, Hans, the war was over.
You're going to be responsible for this one day. The same thing could happen again. How do you think you would react? Does that scare you?
You have to defend it by any means necessary. It's your territory, so you do what you have to.
Okay, I'm not going to invade you.
Cue the national anthem.
Ben Fogel, you're presented for the award of Lord of Sealand.
If you've got a taste for the royal life, Sealand could be yours. The price tag is £500 million. Until then, its independence lives on.
I'm very honoured. Thank you very much.
We're pleased to welcome you to our family of nobles.
Thank you very much, Princess Charlotte. Wow. I'm a lord.
Lovely. Lord Fogel there, getting a taste of royal life in the North Sea. I actually thought he was a lord already.
It's because he's so posh. That's why. And of course, you were born on an island, Sheila.
I was born on the Isle of Wight, but they didn't make me a lady.
No, you see?
I'd get onto them about that.
No.
Alright guys, so here are the three bags that we have up for comparison. Now, can you tell me which one is the real bag and which is the fake? Alright, so we have the genuine bag on the left hand side, the high quality replica in the middle, and then the low quality replica on the end. The one here we're displaying is actually the least best made one that we have. So the thing about it, we're not really going to even review it that much because, just to be honest, it's just crap. There's a lot of things about it that is just not right. So the entire inside of the bag is red. Along with that, the accents on the bag are made out of gold, while the authentic is obviously it's much better made and it has silver accents. So you can see here that there's no insignia that says Supreme, and on top of that it's very, very low quality, not even genuine leather. So we won't be reviewing that bag necessarily. We're going to be going over the high quality replica and then also the authentic bag and giving you better feedback between the two of them, really what you're going to be looking out for. So, first up, guys, side by side, you're going to notice that the authentic Christopher bag on the left-hand side here is just perfect. So absolutely flawless. There is no creasing in the bag. The pockets are folded over perfectly. There's a little close-up of that there. Perfect. And then going over to the other one, it's just a beautiful bag. Now, as we look at the fake, you'll notice that it's out of shape. It's creased. It does not look as nice. The pockets themselves don't maintain the same shape as the authentic bag does. So you can see that these are actually stuffed where those are empty, and so the shape's still not as great. So that's huge to look out for. Another thing to look out for is going to be the logo itself. So here on the authentic, you'll notice that it's centered, it's small, it is a very crisp, clean logo. Over here on the fake bag, you'll notice it's much larger, not as centered. So the logo on the replica much larger than the one here, and so side by side, just kind of show you what the differences look like. You can notice really how big of a difference the size of the logo is from the fake to the real. So here's a side by side. I'll throw up some arrows just so you guys can make sure you're following along with this and that we are, we're making sure that you can see the differences between the fake versus the real. So with the Christopher bag, guys, what you're going to notice up front is that the real Christopher bag is going to be a bit taller than the fake, which is shown on the right hand side. So along with that, you guys, that they're both made from genuine leather, which is important to talk about because the materials are similar on the outside. But when we get to the inside of the bag, that's really what we're going to notice it being a bit different. So over here on the real bag, we have the inside similar tag to the one on the right, but the material is actually suede on the inside of the bag, so it's very soft to touch. It's a very nice suede material. But over on the fake bag, it's just a plain canvas. So the one thing they really messed up on is on the inside of the bag. It's just not as nice as the one on the real. So the inside of the bag as well, you guys, is going to be different from the tag itself. So here you'll notice on the real one that it is saying Louis Vuitton, says made in France, along with the year 2017. Now as we go over to the fake bag, you'll notice that the tag itself will only have just the name Louis Vuitton, Paris, and that's pretty much it. So it's a lot simpler. There's not as much going on. The inside of the bag, guys, also on the real one, you'll notice that it has the red leather lining on the inside. You can see it's genuine, really good work that's done on the inside of the bag. Now, as we go over to the fake replica bag, you'll notice that the inside does not have the red leather. In fact, it just has the canvas folded over, nothing special going on inside of there. So here on the bottom of the bag, what we noticed was that the actual stitching is there. You can see it. It's seamless. It's perfect. Louis Vuitton really pushes out amazing quality product, and if it's not, then they won't release it. So you'll even notice here, you can't even see that there is a stitching pattern on the bottom. There isn't. So the authentic bag, obviously, as you can see, has the stitching down at the bottom, where the high quality replica does not have it at all. On the genuine bag, you'll notice that there is no insignia, no letter work on the actual accents itself. Here over on the high quality fake, you guys are going to notice that it actually does have and says Louis Vuitton on those little metal accents. So watch out for that. It's a big difference between the real and then the replica itself. So as time goes on, the quality of the fakes are going to
The grenade, a favorite weapon of the pirates. Spherical cast iron ball, about 5 inches around, loaded with 5 ounces of gunpowder. Fused with a wooden fuse, hollow with a compound in it, driven home, and sealed with wax so that no stray spark could get into it. When it was lit, it took about 6 seconds to go off, and you could throw it about 90 feet. The blunderbuss, a favorite shipboard weapon. We're told it was Blackbeard's favorite. It was loaded with a handful of pistol balls, and when it was fired, it would create absolute devastation over a broad area of decks.
Riding at anchor off Harwich and safely outside the 3-mile limit, the innocent-looking ex-ferryboat Caroline is causing quite a stir in official circles. She's a floating broadcasting station, hoping to make a big thing out of commercial radio and waiting for the advertisements to roll in. I'm no pirate, insists Captain Mackay, even if the radio crew are. No danger to his ship so far. Generators supply power for the wireless transmitter. Caroline Radio is on the air 12 hours a day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Between those hours, they think, there's a public large enough to attract local advertising revenue. Crew technicians have comfortable off-duty quarters, and to all indications, Caroline is a happy ship. The radio company believe it's all perfectly deep. In the ship's studio, they broadcast with no more concern than if it were all in Broadcasting House.
This is Radio Caroline on 199, England's first commercial radio station. My name's Simon D, with you for the next 2 hours. First one off the top of the pile, the Hollies, Rockin' Robin.
Twiddly, 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 twing, twing, twiddly. He rocks the streets outside the daylight.
It'll be interesting to see if the young men behind this adventure can stand up against the Postmaster General, the BBC, International Telecommunications, and all the other opposition.
There is a new site pirating everything, Will. You pirate Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO Now, Prime Video, and Showtime. It's our friends at MSCHF. These are the guys that are always getting me into trouble because I showed off their latest art project, which was the mystery box, and prior to that, the Jesus shoes. And then people said, "What are you doing linking up to this? And can you vouch for that?" And I feel like I put the disclaimers in, but people, they don't care about the disclaimers, Will. And you know what? Maybe they're right. You put it on Unbox Therapy, you could throw a billion disclaimers on it. People still take what they want. You know, you put a video on Unbox Therapy, Will, you got 7,000 comments in 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's how it is.
The video's not even over yet. People are like, people take from it what they will.
Yep.
And so you have to, through some kind of abundance of caution, control what people can and can't see. Because once it's on there, they're like, "Lou, bought it, scam, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Your fault." I'm like, "Geez, man. I'm just I just made the video. The thing, it showed up."
Oh, no.
I try to.
You're Mr. Mischief.
I'm Mr. Mischief. Just through affiliation. But I understand. For the record, I'm not even saying, like, I do assume some responsibility. There is a sense of responsibility. We've had situations in the past where I have to come back and clarify and say, "Look, this was screwed up." I still don't know what MSCHF is completely as a company, but that's the idea, right? The idea is that you don't really know. And so they're playing around in the sketchy land to keep in the news, and it's working. They're back in the news again. It was the box. It was the Jesus shoe. It was things before that, and now it's this. And look at this. This is project number 17 right now, 17 or 18. Every single time it's some new experiment. And so people don't realize what they're up to. People saw the MSCHF box and they thought, "Oh, that's what that whole company is." They'll do it for 5 minutes and then they got some next thing. Mm-hmm. It's all part of some big art project. So it's tough to fully decipher exactly what's going on. And I warn people of that. But apparently their latest art project, their latest statement is in relationship to the current state of streaming in 2020, in which we're expected to have all these various streaming services that I already mentioned, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, and so forth. And we've talked about the potential for subscription fatigue on previous episodes. Like, which ones do you hold on to? Which subscriptions matter to you? How many can you sustain reasonably with all the fees associated? And so they're saying, forget it. We have our new streams. What's it called? Streams.fm?
Allthestreams.fm.
Allthestreams.fm. Now, I'm not telling you to go there. I don't know. Probably, maybe you go to that site and all of a sudden the Pentagon it calls you up. Mm-hmm. They say, "We see that you were one of the visitors and we're coming to visit you. You visit there, we visit you." Mm-hmm. So I'm not, again, full disclaimers, all the disclaimers. I don't know. I don't know everything. I'm willing to admit it. I don't know everything. Know very little, Will. I know very little. That's what I know for a fact.
That makes two of us.
I know 100% that I do not know 100%. You see how that works? But that's fine. That's what makes life exciting. I mean,
Dave?
Yeah, Ma?
What are you doing?
I'm taking over a TV network.
Finish up, honey, and get to sleep. And happy birthday.
Security, Norm.
Norman speaking. Norman, this is Mr. Eddie Vedder from accounting. I just had a power surge here at home that wiped out a file I was working on. And listen, I'm in big trouble. You know anything about computers?
Gee.
Right, well, my BLT drive on my computer just went AWOL, and I got this big project due tomorrow for Mr. Kawasaki, and if I don't get it in, he's gonna ask me to commit harikiri. Yeah, well, you know these Japanese management techniques. Could you read me the number on the modem? It's a little boxy thing, Norm, with switches on it. Lets my computer talk to the one there.
212-555-4240.
So-called American Indians, Latinos, and blacks come from a genetically mediocre stock.
Yak, yak, yak.
Being aware of racial division,
Get a job.
And I am. Say I'm a...
You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
Hey. Zero. No, wait.
Is this the day? Is this the beginning of the end? There is no time to wonder. No time to wonder. Why is it happening? Why is it finally happening?
Unbelievable.
There is time only for fear.
A hacker.
The piercing pain of panic. Do we pray? Or do we merely run now?
Yeah, okay, acid burn. That's enough. Shit on me.
This is Tiago Pivovarchuk and Jeff Taylor of New York Art Forensics. And this is a Jackson Pollock, or at least it looks like one, but it's actually a fake. Here's how they figured it out.
Today, we will perform all the steps necessary to determine its authorship. Jackson Pollock was an American painter that painted from the early 20s to the 1950s. He's best known by the drift or core paintings that he did from 1947 till the time of his death in 1956. Pollock's drift paintings are considered his best period, so a good-sized, well-preserved Jackson Pollock, he can go for over $100 million. There's a lot of claims of Jackson Pollock drip paintings, and our laboratory was able to identify over 100 fakes. So we can say that we found more fakes than there are authentic Jackson Pollocks out there. We received this painting by a client that chose to remain anonymous. We're going to call him Sydney. The first step when we receive a painting, we're trying to establish something called the provenance. Provenance is a chain of ownership and custody of an artwork from the contemporary ownership all the way back to its manufacturing. Where this painting came from, what is the story behind it? Is there anything that shows the history of this artwork?
So this is one of the most fascinating documents that I've ever seen. This is a document to explain why Sydney should have a Jackson Pollock.
Most forgeries, there are not as much forgeries of confidence as forgeries of documentation.
This is problematic in all these different ways. The fax has no number. Dr. Armin Hershkovitz cannot be referenced. There's no record of a tear gallery in Dover, New Jersey. Then he says he acquired this painting in 1955 after Pollock died, but he didn't die until 1956. So for all these reasons, this is an incredibly unreliable and deceitful document.
The next step will be we try to find a match for the artwork. Jackson Pollock paintings are specifically hard to look for matches because of the nature of the image. Most of the sources are imprinted material in the catalogue raisonné, which is the comprehensive catalogue of works for a given artist. This painting has no match. The next step is a close-up visual analysis. So we're looking close to the painting to try to find anachronistic materials and techniques. Something that would be uncharacteristic from a given author or a given time.
It's a very thin layer. Yeah, look at how many colors I count that aren't in the drip layers.
It's very hard to prove there's something but it's easier to find things that are out of place, things that should not be there.
Look at these underlying colors. We got a yellow, a green, and neither of them appear in the drip patterns. That's done with a brush.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rather strange because when Pollock starts doing the poured painting, he really doesn't brush much anymore.
Yep.
So there's no signature here.
A lot of the work going into the market in very controversial ways are not signed. And we suspect that someone is trying to mitigate whatever legal repercussions, trying to imply that an unsigned work is not forgery per se. As I say, it's a next level to take the step to sign artwork.
Now you see here, Tiago, I got 2 holes right here at just that distance. And they're repetitive.
You have a series of smaller holes. And that indicates that this canvas was at a certain point stapled. And staple canvases will not be a thing on 1956.
Do you see the dirt here? Yeah, that's like nasty.
It's being aged through a series of processes to look older.
It's like they spilled something on this through carelessness or not through carelessness.
You can see by the marks on the back how it was dabbed with a tea bag. And if you actually come really close and smell it, you can smell tea still. The surface is being sprayed with nicotine to emulate ages of exposure to smoking. But the canvas is actually in a really good state of conservation.
It hasn't really shredded the way a canvas starts to unravel at its edges over time.
There's like some punctual damage that is here.
Yeah.
It should be like all over like this. Then the next step will be photography. So we want to see if there's any under drawings or sketches under the paint. You never know. Sometimes the canvas was reused.
Do you see that squared green there?
Ah, yes. In this case, instead of finding underdrawing, actually, we found that this canvas was reused from a prior picture that had very regular geometric shape, which is very uncharacteristic from Pollock as well.
Now we get out the UV light.
If you're going to analyze the material aspects of the artwork, we want to be sure that we're looking at relevant parts of it. So we examine it with ultraviolet light to try to look at the original parts of the painting.
Normally, all the restorations would show up, but none of the restorations show up any different, as if the thing was done all at the same time. See, look, here, this cut.
There's a big patch on the back, and this ripping is held together by a patch, and it's gluing it together.
You see, there's 2 little canvas threads are actually loose.
And the restoration was made in a completely substandard way, and it doesn't seem to be fulfilling the purpose of a proper conservation. The X-ray fluorescence spectrometer, that's the next step.
This handy device that looks kind of like a Star Trek phaser is a really outstanding tool in the field of art forensics. I'm actually emitting a small amount of X-rays onto the surface of the painting. It's exciting the electrons in the pigments there, and that allows this to identify what elements are present.
It shows us that we have titanium on it, which is natural from titanium dioxide white pigment. It's a very common material from the 1930s.
For a lot of our cases, titanium is the determining factor, and it has tripped up more forgers than any other element. So if this were purporting to be a painting by Degas, and we found the titanium, immediately we would know, no way. In this case, however, by the time Pollock is working, titanium is a widely available white, so to find it in Pollock's work is not surprising. In fact, it's well documented that his works do contain titanium.
Titanium white was already available in the 1950s. From that, we move on to microscopy.
So Tiago is going to be taking tiny, non-destructive fragmentary samples of different bits of paint.
This process is mostly used for organic materials.
With those, we would then be able to test both the pigment and the binder.
We're looking for what is the kind of paint used. We try to take a few samples from each color, and then we use the Raman spectrometer. We put in a microscope slide, and we shine a laser over it. And then this laser bounces back inside the machine in a slightly different color from the original color of the laser. That can tell us an idea of what we're looking at. And we found mostly acrylics.
Although the binder known as acrylics did exist at the time Pollock was alive, In this one, the specific variant of acrylic did not exist.
It only started being manufactured in the 1960s.
For more than 100 years, scientists have just been looking at tiny fragments of paintings under microscopes, and this allows us to really make a visual identification based in metals and tiny fragments of mineralogy.
So there are studies regarding Jackson Pollock paintings that describe the type of debris found in his paintings.
Look at that. Either somebody dropped this in a mud puddle or they directly applied this stuff.
And there is a specific type of sedimentary rock and dust that he would spread on his work.
I think it's a piece of insulation. That's what I'm saying. I can't even tell what that is.
But on this case, we analyzed the debris and dust embedded on the painting, and it seems to be debris from drywall, which is inconsistent with other Pollock's works. Conclusion. Jackson Pollock, the technique per se, there is not much of a mystery. So it is our opinion that this would not qualify as a Jackson Pollock painting. As I say, if the deal is too good, there's something wrong.
Because the people who own the system, they hire so-called professionals to set up security, so to keep people like us out. So it's a game. You want to see how smart they are. And, you know, if you can beat them at their own game, you get in, you look around. If it's boring, you leave. Generally, most people leave. You know, you have some malicious types who like to go in and screw things up. But, you know, I just do it for the challenge. It's fun.
These kids in the Catskills, they were like 14 and 15 years old. They were into trading software, and they had a computer bulletin board system, and they would put up codes for phreaking to make free phone calls, and people would put up numbers of databases, and somebody put up an AT&T database number. And so one kid who was good with hacking into systems got on, and he got into a menu that he didn't know what it was, and he just started poking around with it, and the next thing he knew, people came to his house, and he didn't know what happened, and they told him that he had moved a satellite. He moved a telecommunications satellite out of orbit, and they all freaked out. I mean, they came to his house going, "You moved a satellite," and, he was like 14 years old, so his parents were like passing out because there were federal agents in his house, and he was shitting bricks, and the federal agents came in, confiscated all his computer equipment, and scared the living daylights out of him, and he thought he was going away to jail for the rest of his life, and he just turned everybody in.
So by definition, in a bureaucracy, any individual who thinks for herself is considered a hooligan or a smartass or a know-it-all or a troublemaker. The creative child is the troublemaker. So by definition, an innovative person, particularly in technology with computers, anyone who gets in there, uses the computer for his or her own purpose, is by definition a hooligan.
You ever heard the expression, information wants to be free? That's the slogan of the computer underground.
Information wants to be free.
Access to computers and anything which might teach you something about the way the world works should be unlimited and total. Always yield to the hands-on imperative. All information should be free. Mistrust authority. Promote decentralization.
Information wants to be free.
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 They now have the thumbnail chip that in 10 years, they tell us, will have 1 billion transistors costing a few dollars. What that means is that the inner city kid can walk around with more information processing and transmitting ability than ABC, CBS right now, for less money than a pair of Nikes, which they're killing for in the inner city right now. So this is going to be decentralization. It's going to mean ultimate democracy. Who controls the press controls the people. Who controls the tube controls the people. In the future, we'll all be controlling our own screens and zapping our messages around.
Cyberpunks, as William Gibson defined them, are often political to the extent that information is power,
and power must be decentralized for collective security. The console cowboys of Gibson's fiction are clearly criminal. Possessed of a Robin Hood romance, their electronic breaking and entering is purely for profit, though not always monetary. However, the real-life cyberpunk breaks into secure systems without hope of reward, merely to acquire information and occasionally wreak havoc.
I mean, literally, it's coming to the point where whoever holds information has power. It's interesting, though. It is interesting, though, because you find yourself in those books rooting for the outlaws, the hustlers, all the patriots.
The most important question about access and ownership is not how do the vanishingly small number of people in the entertainment industry earn their living. The important thing is that if you want to send me a game or a song or a movie or a book, but not let me keep it, you somehow have to be able to enforce policy on my computer. You have to be able to be sure that even though my computer has a copy of the file that you've sent me, that it doesn't keep that copy of the file. And in order for that to happen, my computer has to be able to run programs that you trust and that I don't trust. My computer has to be designed so that third parties can enforce policy on a computer that has a camera and a microphone and knows how to access my bank account and knows who all my friends are, and I take it with me into the bedroom and I take it with me into the bathroom, and it knows all the places that I go, and it knows every one of my intimate secrets. The idea that that device should be designed so that I can't control it and so that other parties can issue it commands that I can't even see, let alone stop. That idea is so wrong on its face that, to me, it swamps any question about whether it's right or wrong. It's like saying, well, I have this plan. We're going to help everybody who eats at a restaurant. We're going to help them by reducing the amount of gravity in the restaurants. And since we can't really do reductions of the amount of gravity in the restaurant, we're going to pass a law that says everybody has to wear a harness, and there will be people who walk along on stilts and hold them up with the harness to make it feel like there's less gravity. I mean, it's a silly idea. It has no technical relationship to removing gravity, but the important thing about it is not its silliness or its absence of a relationship to technology. It's the fact that you're going to be followed around all the time by people who got you in a harness. So I think I would actually go one step up from the idea that the problem is how copyrights terms and exceptions or limitations and exceptions are moving into the 21st century. I think the real problem is that copyright applies to people who aren't in the entertainment industry. So the realpolitik of copyright has always been that although there's a law that prohibits everybody from duplicating a record album, really it only affects people who own record album factories. And so it can be as complicated and as baroque as it needs to be to reflect the industrial realities of people who own printing presses, of people who own record factories, of people who own film production labs. And that it's an industrial rule. And the industrial rule was had a test built into it to see whether you were part of the industry. And that test was whether you were making or handling copies. And at one point, that was a pretty good proxy for whether you were in the industry, but it's not anymore. It's like, imagine if we actually had banking regulation, which would be a wonderful thing. And that banking regulation said, if you do a transaction that's worth €1 million, you have to tell the central bank about it, and you're a bank. Because anyone using €1 million is in the finance industry by definition. And then like tomorrow, all of the nations that are struggling with austerity default on their debts, the euro crashes, and suddenly it costs €1 million to buy a sandwich, and you take me out for lunch. Does that make you a banker, or does that make €1 million not the right test for who's in the banking industry? The problem is that not that we have the wrong contracts to watch TV on the internet. The problem is the absolutely insane idea that reading a book or watching TV or listening to a song involves a contract, right? That is on its face an insane idea. It's not insane to say that you need a license and therefore a contract in order to do something industrial with a book, a song. I'm glad that my publishers have to sign a contract to publish my books. What's insane is the idea that just because copying is easy, everybody is now a publisher. That's just not true. And so it not only undermines public rights, but it undermines the idea of copyright, because the public can't accept or read through or deal with these contracts. They're not written for public consumption. Consumers Union in the United States estimated that in order to deal with all the contracts you agree to every day, it would take 27 hours a day to read through all of those contracts before you agreed to them. So what it leads the public to believe is that copyright is nonsense, right? Not that it has the wrong limitations and exceptions, not that the contracts are unfair, but that it is silly, that it makes no sense, that it has no validity, that it is some kind of weird Stalinist fantasy. And that is the real problem with terms and conditions and limitations and exceptions.
So basically it's like eBay and like Amazon all mushed together, but even better. You can buy everything on here. People can buy like goldfish pets, you can buy clothing, you can buy sticky tape, you can buy medicine, just anything under the sun you can buy. And there's also a lot of authorized retailers. So brands like Zara or H&M, they all have Taobao stores. So you can either buy it direct from them or you can buy it from other not so shady stores. It is also a giant marketplace for designer items. So you can get real designer items from Daigou, which means people buy it overseas and then ship it to you because it's cheaper overseas or because we don't have the product here in China. On to the bags. So this is like a whole other world. There are many, many different levels of bags that you can get for a designer, and I would say these are probably the entry level. So I chose a bag that's really popular at the moment. It's from Jacquemus. You know what? This bag is printed really nicely. It's printed way better than the Dior bag. Come out! So I got the little yellow one because this quality is also they spelled it all correctly, and like usually when they have this kind of like metal lettering, they usually have like a piece of metal going through the letters, like linking them all, because it hasn't been done properly, but this has been done really properly. Wow, wow. And it comes with like a strap and everything. This is really damn cute. Because I was kind of tossing up if I wanted to buy one or not, because I've always been on the hunt for a yellow bag. And then I saw the Jacquemus ones and I was like, ooh, this sunshine yellow is so cute. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll purchase one on Taobao, see how I like it, and then I'll purchase one in real life. I don't want to take this bit off just in case I can't return it, but the quality is really nice. It's real leather. It's got everything I'm guessing it's supposed to have. I don't have any other Jacquemus bags, so I can't tell, but this is so cute! Is this real? I'm guessing the real one would say like another Jacquemus label in here or something, but damn, this bag is cute. It's like perfect for going out because you always hold your phone in your hand anyway. I'm guessing it actually would fit a phone. Oh, it does fit a phone. It can fit your charger and your keys and a little card wallet. I think I might have to buy one of these bags. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And this was only 132 RMB. That's like, it's like $25 or something for a small leather bag.
Hey, what's up friends? Rob Hip here from Hip TV. Today I'm going to show you how to trick a brother printer into thinking that your ink cartridges are full when they really aren't. This should save you some money. My specific printer is an MFC-J870DW, and as you can tell, it's telling me right now that my yellow is out, which is not true. There's still quite a bit of yellow in the cartridge. So simple fix here, I'll just dig right into it. Open up the tray, check this out. Does that look like it's empty to you? No, not at all. Now some people on the internet have taken a Sharpie right here. This is where the sensor is, right there where this little guy is. And I guess it looks through that somehow. I don't know the technical details of what it does. I just know that if it thinks that it's empty and there's nothing here, it'll say, okay, you're out of ink. Well, it's not true. Here's the fix. Someone got real technical on one of their videos and said, oh, cut it to this length and do this. Man, just take some black electrical tape. All right, check this out. I'm going to make it really easy here. I'm not going to get technical. I just like to give you simple solutions. Ooh, there's a hair on that for my dog. Take some black electrical tape, just like this. Let me see if I can put my phone down here to make this a little bit easier. Take some electrical tape, put it on one side, tuck it under, and just tape over that whole side. See what I did here? I know that's not very good, but look, you see that? Now watch this. Come back over here, slide it back in as normal, click it, shut it. Oh, look, suddenly I have full ink again. Simplest way to do it. If it gives you a message saying, did you replace the ink? Just say yes. I hope this helps you guys out. Once again, just take some electrical tape, tape over the front like this. These are little knockoff cartridges also, but it'll work the same for the Brother cartridges. Just tape over that area with black electrical tape. Don't waste time using a black Sharpie. I've already tried it. It doesn't work. Sometimes it does. It's a pain in the neck. But check this out. I did it with all of my cartridges because it was telling me on pretty much all of them, hey, you're out of ink. Guess what? Got plenty of ink in there too. Hey, hope this saves you some money. Hope it helps you. Oh, look, did you change the magenta? Yeah, why not? Did you change the yellow? Sure. Oh, black? Yeah, whatever. Oh, look. Wow. Suddenly all my ink is full again, and I don't have to waste money putting in another cartridge. Hey, friends, please subscribe if you like this video. I hope it helps you. I'm here to provide tech tips when I come across them. Until then, have a great, wonderful day. This is Rob Hip for Hip TV. Catch you later, friends.
Velkommen til dagens video. Mit navn er Karl, og i dagens video der skal vi lave et par walk on water Air Max 97 Jesus Edition. I går så jeg nemlig en video med et par Air Max 97, hvor den ikke havde puttet vand ind i solen fra en helligflod. Jeg synes, det var så fedt, og jeg var ærgerlig over, at de kostede $3.000. Så lad os ikke lave dem selv. Jeg skal lige sige, jeg har ikke lavet nogen form for testing, så det her det bliver simpelthen en prøve, om solen eksploderer, eller der kommer vand over det hele og ødelægger solen. Det ved jeg ikke nu, men lad os finde ud af det. Okay, så min plan er simpelthen at få sprøjtet vand ind i solen på en eller anden måde, sådan så vi kan lukke hullet igen bagefter, uden at alt for meget luft forsvinder. Ja, så jeg ved som sagt ikke, om det kan lade sig gøre, men jeg var på apoteket og købte en sprøjte og nogle små kanyler her. Og jeg er ikke begyndt at tage heroin, det kan godt være sådan ud, men det er simpelthen bare, fordi jeg arbejder for meget. Men jeg var på apoteket, og så fik jeg fat i nogle kanyler på 10 ml. Det er ikke meget, men det var de største, de havde. Og derefter så bad jeg om de mindste hoveder, de overhovedet havde, altså de mindste nåle, så jeg også så lille kryds som muligt. Så min plan er at finde et sted på solen, hvor jeg kan prikke hul i airboblen. Det er altså et par Air Max CDS, tror jeg, de hedder Cocaine White 2011, så det var lidt sådan at ødelægge dem. Så hvis vi nu meget forsigtigt prikker hul i solen, og derefter sprøjter vand ind i, så kan det jo være, at vi kan lave en egen model. Det er i hvert fald det, der er planen. Men følg med, så ser vi, hvordan det går. Til at starte med, så skal vi bare bruge noget frisk vand, og det får vi bare fra hende. Ej, hvor er der ulækkert herude, den har ikke vasket op. Ups. Udover kanylerne, så fik jeg også købt noget helt naturligt frugtfarve, fordi jeg kunne se på Nikes video, at skolen var lidt blålig, eller vandet i hvert fald var. Og det har de altså ikke fået direkte på den flod. Jeg vil ved, at de har tilføjet lidt farve, så det gør vi altså også. Okay, I skal bare lige vide, at jeg synes, det her det er super nøjeren. Det her det er et par meget gamle Air Max, så der ikke findes særlig mange af verden. De er voldsomt fede, og jeg vil helst ikke ødelægge dem. Men JD Sport har simpelthen et par helt hvide Air Max, så nu prøver vi. Wow, prøv at se det der. Der kommer vand ind i skoen. Det skal ikke lige være, jeg regner med. Men indtil videre ser det som om det virker. Det går virkelig langsomt, men nu må vi se, hvordan det bliver. Okay, prøv lige at se her. Jeg har sat 2 kanyler, så har vi allerede vand ind i solen. Det ser jo fuldstændig sindssygt ud, det her. Jeg kan godt se, det kræver et par stykker og fylde den helt op, men det er sindssygt, det kanylerne her. Og der er stadig masser af luft. Solen, jeg tror, det skal være lidt bedre, men det er ikke meget. Så lad os fortsætte. Nu skal jeg prøve at lukke de huller, vi har lavet med kanylen, og det har jeg tænkt mig at gøre noget verdens stærkeste lige batch cement. Luk hullet her, jeg vil hellere have for meget på en for lidt, så den virkelig dækker, fordi det bliver lidt gennemsigtigt. de små områder af, når du vælger de kritiske tørre, 110% inden jeg vender skålen om, men indtil videre ser det fuldstændig sindssygt ud. Prøv at se her, man kan se vandet, og skålen den er ikke punkteret. Jeg blæser alt, hvad jeg kan lige nu. Alt, hvad jeg kan. Og den har næsten ikke mistet noget luft. I forhold til den anden, som er helt frit, så har den måske mistet 10% eller sådan noget, så det er over alle forventninger. Jeg tager næsten ikke, hvis det hele bare sprøjter ud. Holy shit, det ser sejt ud her. Prøv lige at se det her. Og den er knæstør her, den kun får lov til at tage 5 minutter lige med en gang herved nu. Og her foran ser det også godt ud. Ja, sindssygt, de er syge. Så lykkedes det at få fyldt vand i Airmaxen. Jeg tror, det her er verdens første og eneste MSCHF Jesus custom. Jeg er mega glad for resultatet. Luftpulden den holder tæt, og den holder luft også. Og jeg tror faktisk, det kan lykkes, så vi kan få den på fødderne. Jeg er lidt bange for, at vandet bare sprøjter ud til alle sider, når vi får på. Men det må tiden vise, så følg med.
The deficiency of vitamin C can increase the risk of certain diseases, such as scurvy. So what is scurvy? Scurvy is a condition specific to the deficiency of ascorbic acid. The lack of vitamin C destabilizes the structure of collagen and affects the integrity of the tissue. Symptoms include bleeding gums, tooth decay, rough skin, and loss of integrity of microvessels. Symptoms of scurvy appear within a month if deficiency is continuous. Did you know? One of the reasons that killed the pirates of the 18th century were not bullets, but scurvy. Yes, you heard that right. Pirates could not rely on the food pyramid chart to inform them about their required fruits and vegetables. And as a result, they were plagued with scurvy. Pirates had bleeding gums, their teeth fell out, bones atrophied. It was a slow death, say historians. Eating citrus fruit would cure them. Currently, we rarely hear of scurvy.